Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Okay, so this is deployed now. So how do you see this? Is you can put this IP. Okay, so this is so it is done through shared scripts. The way it is done is little different. Okay, fine. I think this was mine. So when you want to delete, you'll have to go from bottom to top. So first you undeploy the app, delete it, then you delete the instance, then layers, and then stack. Okay, and that is how you can delete the stack. If you straight away go to stack and try to delete, it will tell you that some instances are running, and then delete the instances and app. Okay. So there are different methods used in deploying. So it depends upon really your requirement. Many a times people create the underlying infrastructure with the help of cloud formation, and then they use OpsWorks for deployment of their application. So that combination also people will use. Yeah. So sometimes it becomes very tedious to write the cloud formation templates, like installing packages, etc., with the cloud formation template format. So people use a combination. They create the bare metal. I mean, not the bare metal, but the plain vanilla EC2 instances and other things, and then they deploy these apps through different tools. So various combinations you can use. Okay. So let me go ahead and so you can try this creating a sample stack just to get a feel, and then you can delete it. So I'm going to go to app and then I will say This is whose stack it was. I think there is a confusion in the stack names. Everybody has kept the name Linux. Learning online. I think this was my stack, I guess. I'll just go to app and delete it. Then I will come to instances and then I will stop it. And once it is stopped, then I will terminate it and then go to layers. Then I will go to stack and delete the stack. Okay, so it is from bottom to top, you need to delete it.
So, Srikanth, like when we do the setup from this environment, right? Like, can we have a load balancing within these particular instances?
Yeah, you can. Currently, we created a sample stack,
Right? If we
but if you go to the guide,
hmm,
you can do that.
suppose we have two instances here, right? Like whatever we are stopping and
Hmm.
like say example one more, right?
Right. Yeah, you
We
can do that.
will be able to do a load balancing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. This is
So
purely for
that is
app
within that.
deployment.
Okay.
Yeah. So see, the load
Okay.
balancing is a work of load balancer. So the deployment has nothing to do with it, but as an environment setup, if you want to have a load balancer in between, you can do that. Two options also.
So that we will need to write it in the cloud formation template, right? In that case.
Uh, you can use combination. See what happens is here. This is basically, if you see, it is for setting up resources, then packages, etc. Okay, but if you go here in the layers, you will see in the network you have load balancers. Okay, so if you want to set up that kind of thing, you can do it. Okay, no ELBs have been created in your this thing. So add a ELB to go to, you can add a ELB and add it here in this layer. So here the layer has got lot of things. It has got EBS volume, security, CloudWatch logs. So if you want to deploy, say two EC2 instances under a load balancer, you can do it here under layer. But the shape, what we are using is only for deployment of application. Okay, but you know what, you got what I'm saying.
Okay.
So yeah, so ELB is a
Yeah.
part of a
Got it.
layer.
So basically, like any kind of resource which we had created, right? Like
Mhm.
most of them can be used within this layer and integrate this
Yes,
application.
correct, correct.
Okay. Okay.
Shrikant, I have created the application. So how to launch it actually?
Go to app and deploy,
Yeah, deployment.
and then you go to the public IP of that instance. Then the sample page will show.
Okay.
So I have now deleted app, deleted instances, layers, and now finally I will delete stack. Okay, so all of you need to follow this process. first delete your app, go to instance, delete your instance, first stop it, then delete it, then go to layers, delete that, and then go to the stack. Somebody has created two layers. This is cluster. don't, don't create boss. Don't create more than one layer. It's coming as a billing to me. Yes. So please don't overuse. Whenever you are done, somebody has created a ECS cluster in it. So when you are done, please delete it in time. So who is doing it? No. Have you selected a sample or some different stack? Hmm. It is student 9. So please make sure you have created this. Please delete it. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
After,
Sample one I choose.
yeah. No, this is some ECS cluster. Fine, I'll give you some time. You complete this and delete tab, delete instances and layers, and then finally the uh, start.
Shrikant, what is the use of CMK?
Customer managed keys
Yes.
is you are referring to. Okay. CM use of CMK is basically, see, there is a customer master key, and from the customer master key, a data key is created, and data key is used for encrypting your data. So the customer
Okay.
master key, if you want to upload your key, you can do that. So instead of depending upon AWS, you can have your own key.
Okay.
So customer master key, from customer master key, actually data key is created, and then data key is used for encrypting.
Okay. Encryption in the sense, in which level? I mean,
It
so
is
it's a
used at every level. Suppose S3, we have seen there are two options. One is the server side encryption, or E, and the other is the CMK. I mean the key management service kind of encryption, right? So how it is done is you have a customer master key. From there, you get you create a data key,
okay.
and then you have a plain text. Okay, and then
Okay.
you apply this key on this plain text, and then what you get is basically an encrypted version of the plain text,
Mhm.
and uh, then from the data key there will be an encrypted key that will be kept along with the encrypted text. Okay,
Okay.
and when you want to decrypt it, actually the key management service will take this encrypted key, give you plain data key, and from the plain data key you can decrypt this the encrypted version of the plain text, and then you get back the plain text. That is how it is used.
So this
Okay.
customer managed key is used with along with the S3 bucket alone, or any
Yeah,
other
S3
purposes there?
bucket, EBS volume, everywhere where you have the KMS enabled for encryption. It can be
Okay.
used for DynamoDB, anywhere you want to encrypt.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine. So I think, uh, yeah, can you please delete the stats? Suppose go to app, delete the app, go to instances, stop the instance, delete instance, come to layers, delete layer, and then delete stats. Let me just create one instance. I'm just creating one sample instance for further exercise. So meanwhile, those who
Srikanth,
have
can you
finished
delete my
can
stack?
delete the stack.
I'm unable to delete.
Okay, fine. Let me have a look. What is the stack?
Will be my name, Srikanth, Nainar.
No, okay. No, okay. So this is shutting down. No app. Okay, so it
Instance
is
also
stopping.
stop.
Yeah. So once it is stopped, now it will direction stop. And it is stopping. After stopping, you can delete it. Then go to layers and delete layers and then finally stack. So it will take some time to stop. After that, you will be able to.
Okay. Okay.
Fine. Okay. So let us cover one more service before we break for lunch, and that is CloudWatch. Okay, so we will be covering certain things on CloudWatch. There are a lot of new things which are added. We will not be covering that. We'll be touching upon the essential part of CloudWatch. Now, CloudWatch is basically a service which is a by default a monitoring service. So whenever you create any resources in AWS, those are getting monitored by CloudWatch, and CloudWatch keeps the data in terms of metrics. So if you go to metrics, so you will see number of metrics here. Okay. So depending upon the region, now here are so many regions which is lifting, which is showing. And suppose if I go to say EC2 instance, so you will say per instance matrix. Okay. Now if I select few of them, so these are actually from the old. Let me just populate this and populate again. Selecting everything, so it's taking time. So on the right side, if you see, there are the what are the metrics? The CPU credit balance, CPU usage, then network packets, etc., etc. So if you select those, on the upper side, it will be plotted against time. So currently this is for an old instance, but let me just check for a new instance what I created. Yeah. Let me just grab the instance ID from here. So that we'll be able to see certain metrics. Let's see. Okay, so this is CloudWatch demo. Now let me grab this ID and put it here. Metrics. Origins. It will take some time to populate. Now let us see. Now this is these are certain parameters of CloudWatch. Now we have started this instance some time back, so it will take some time to populate. But once it populates, it will show you in the graphics format. Okay. Now this is related to EC2. So you have CPU, memory, CPU utilization, network, disk utilization, etc., etc. So all these parameters will be displayed in a graphics format. Now let us come to, this is related to EC2. If you have other metrics, for example, auto scaling. So there are certain metrics here. So yesterday we did an exercise of auto scaling group exercise. So these are the metrics which get monitored. Okay, so group termination instances, group max size, etc., etc. So again, if you go back, whatever service you are using, for example, Elastic Load Balancer or Elastic Beanstalk, there are certain metrics which are kept. So we created something, environment health. So these are our environments and these are the metrics. So when you might have noticed when we went to Elastic Beanstalk, it gives certain health related parameters. So these are pulled from here, actually the CloudWatch. Okay. So every service what you use is now there are certain things related to NAT gateway what we used yesterday. So like that, or RDS service we use. So there are some parameters related to RDS service, for instance, metrics. So today we created some MySQL. So these are the parameters which will get monitored and captured in CloudWatch. Okay? So this is related to metrics. Now, one question. When I go to EC2 and if I go to per instance matrix, so in the per instance matrix, I can see the status check, I can see CPU, I can see network related parameters and disk related parameters. But I don't see any memory related parameter in EC2. Can you tell me what could be the reason? Anyone? So at a native level,
So that
CloudWatch, yeah.
you're not using dedicated instance, right? Is it the reason?
Okay. No. The reason is basically it is something related to the shared responsibility model.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Okay. So what happens in case of EC2? So if you see the underlying layers, there is a hardware and there is a hypervisor, right? and you have your EC2 instance running on top of this. Now, who manages this is AWS. Anything happening inside EC2, who manages it? Customer. Okay. Now, AWS will monitor whatever is possible at a hypervisor layer. So CPU can be monitored from a hypervisor layer, network can be monitored from the hypervisor layer, disk IOs can be monitored. But if you want to really monitor how much of memory is consumed by a particular application, you'll have to put something inside EC2. Okay, so at a native level, CloudWatch will not do that. Okay, so keep this in mind. So anything happening inside is customer responsibility. So you'll have to put some agent, some kind of service inside EC2 to monitor it. So there is a way out. Actually, there are certain scripts AWS will provide, and those scripts can be installed in the EC2, and then those memory and say disk utilization can be monitored, and it can be integrated with CloudWatch service. So that will appear as one of the added metrics in CloudWatch. But at a native level, it doesn't monitor memory. So you have to put some scripts. So these scripts are actually available. So, or you can put a agent. Suppose your application you want to monitor, then CloudWatch is not going to do that. You will have to install some agent and then integrate it with CloudWatch ecosystem. Okay. So if I say so you will see monitoring memory and disk metrics. So this is a standard document you can find. Okay, so you will have to install this thing. So this is a document, and which systems are supported: Amazon Linux, Amazon Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu. Similarly, on the Windows side, you have those scripts. So these scripts are given to you by Amazon. These are written in Perl, and you will have to install it on your Linux instance. And then the memory and the disk utilization can be monitored, and it will keep it in the metrics of CloudWatch. Okay. So here now I'm going to demonstrate this. You need not do it. You can just observe. So if I go back to CloudWatch, and if I go to all metrics, so this is called the default namespace. So what you have here is application, ELB, billing, etc., etc. Now, what I want to do on my EC2 instance that is running, I want to install this monitoring scripts, right? So what I'm going to do for that, now here there is a requirement of a role. Now my EC2 instance wants to talk to CloudWatch ecosystem, CloudWatch service. Now how do I achieve this? I can create a role which will have all permissions on CloudWatch service, assign that role to EC2 instance, and then I will install these monitoring scripts. Okay, and then I should be able to see those parameters in the matrix format. So let us try to do that. So what I will do, let me go to EC2 instance. First, I will create a role. So let me create a role first. role. And so now here the first option I will choose. So AWS service, and I want to assign it to EC2. The next service, next permissions, and here I want this EC2 to talk to CloudWatch. So I will go for CloudWatch full access. So this time I want to give CloudWatch actions EC2 access CloudWatch. Okay, so full access I will give. And let me just name the role CloudWatch full access. I will keep the name same, create a role. Okay, so I have created this role. Now I want to assign this role to the EC2 instance. So there are two instances. Let's go there. Okay, so here okay, so CloudWatch demo is my, let me connect, sorry, before connecting, I just want to assign a role. So I will attach the role. Okay, so CloudWatch will access in the role and I will apply. So now I am giving all the privileges to this EC2 instance to talk to CloudWatch demo, and let me connect. Okay, now let me refer to this document. Now what this document says is basically you need to install the Perl modules because the scripts are written in Perl. So I will just copy this and paste it here, and I will run this. Okay, so once I have done that, this is the first step, and then so for different operating system, it is mentioned here what is to be done. Now let me go and install the actual code. So I will download this. So the command is here curl. I will just copy this and paste it. Oh, this is done. Sorry. Curl. And now if I see here, there is this .zip file which got downloaded. Okay, so this I will just unzip it. Unzip, and so this is all documented. Nothing to be. It is all there. Now what it has done. This now if I see ls -l, there is a folder which is created, AWS scripts mon. So let me cd into this AWS scripts mon. Okay, now I see two scripts. One is the get instance data script and mon put instance data .pl. PL is basically, it is written in Perl. So if I scroll down, Now, these are certain parameters you can pass to the script. And now suppose I want to monitor the memory utilization from this instance. Then let me see, view the metrics in the console. Let me copy this scaling only. Let us copy this. So following example collects all the available memory metrics and sends to CloudWatch, counting cache and buffer memory. Okay, so memory used includes cache memory, memory utilization. So let us copy this. And let me put it here. Now it will say successfully reported the metrics to CloudWatch. Now let me run a couple of times. Now how this is happening now? This is happening through a role, because now EC2 instance is able to communicate with CloudWatch, and that is happening through a role. Now let me go back to CloudWatch and see. If there is any added matrix. So if you see here, there is additional matrix now which is showing, which was not there earlier. And this is that system Linux matrix. So this is called custom namespace. These are default AWS namespaces. So if I click here, I will see those metrics: memory utilization, memory use. So if you really want to monitor, you run the script periodically, put it in a cron tab, and you can do it. Okay. So this is how you can monitor something from inside EC2. But by default, due to the shared responsibility model, all the tools, they will never go beyond hypervisor. They will not do anything inside your EC2. If you want to really monitor, you have to put agent something like this. Okay, fine. So that is about metrics. So metrics for all the services, there will be different metrics that will be kept. Coming to alarms. Now on a metrics, you can create an alarm. So in the auto scaling, we created an alarm saying that if the CPU utilization goes below 50, above 50, it will create an alarm. And on that alarm, you can take certain actions. Okay. So the alarm can be in 3 states. Alarm can be in alarm state. Alarm state means, hello, am I audible? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Srikanth.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Just checking because, okay. So alarm can be in 3 states. It is in the alarm state, that means the threshold has crossed of the matrix, and you can take certain actions on that. It can be in the OK state, that means there is no alarm. Or it can be in the insufficient data state. So what is it? Suppose you are saying that CPU utilization crosses 50% for a continuous period of 5 minutes, but 5 minutes have not passed, then it is in the insufficient data state. So there is no sufficient wait time that has passed. Okay, so that is there. Then logs. Logs are used by many services. For example, Lambda. If you say in the Lambda function console.log, say, and it wants to write something to the log file, that will come to CloudWatch logs. Or if you want to configure centralized logs, for example, you have Linux servers, Windows servers, they have their individual logs like Verilog messages, etc. You want them to be put into central logging, then you can use these logs. Okay, so logs are used in multiple ways in CloudWatch. So I will show you one demo after lunch for the Lambda function. That time we will see logs. So these are related to logs. We will look into it. Then there are events. So on a particular event, you can trigger some targets. So for example, say service, maybe I will say EC2, and there is an event. So what kind of events are possible? Instance state change notification. So it has gone from stop state to running state, or running state to stop state. That is the event. Okay. And specific states, so running to stop. Now on this, you want to trigger certain action. On this can run any instance or any specific ID also. And what action I can take is I can write a Lambda function which will get executed, or I can integrate it with SNS topic. SNS is a service, simple notification service, with the help of which you can send a email notification or SMS. Okay, so these are all targets. So on a particular event, you can get a notification. Okay, so that is what these events mean. Okay, so to summarize, CloudWatch is a monitoring system, keeps the data in terms of metrics. You can create alarms on the metrics. If the threshold is crossed, alarm will be raised, and on that alarm you can take certain action. Similarly, on events, you can take certain action. According to the shared responsibility model, you cannot monitor anything happening inside a particular service. So you'll have to put agents inside EC2 and integrate it with CloudWatch. Okay, so that is about CloudWatch.
Shrikant, so what is the use of log groups here? Anything specific?
Log, yeah, log
Logs and
groups
log
are
groups.
logs and log group. I will demonstrate. See, basically, if you write a Lambda function, so Lambda function, what happens is it gets executed in the background. So what are the messages coming out? You don't have any mechanism, right? You don't have a server basically. So that will be logged into logs in the log groups. Or suppose you are having Linux servers and there are local logs like var log messages, for example, or those can be also be captured in the central logs of CloudWatch. That is the use. We will have the demonstration after lunch. Fine. So that is about CloudWatch service. There are a couple of services which are remaining. Can you please share this session recording? Yeah, it will be shared to you. I will just check with the coordinator. He will be sending you the link for the recordings. Okay. Fine. So next service, what we are going to discuss is called CloudFront, and it falls into basically caching category. So yeah, so that falls into caching category. Okay, so how it is used? I think in earlier sessions I have just briefly discussed that caching. Now the basic purpose of, am I audible loud and clear? Please confirm me back.
Yes, Shrikant.
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, so when you're having any static contents, for example, videos or images which are not changing quite often, uh, then what happens is, suppose my main website is hosted in say US region, and my clients are going to access it from say India. Then there could be some amount of latency that will be introduced, and this latency is very much experienced by the users when they stream some videos or images. So what is being done here is there is something called as an edge location, and so these are not full-fledged regions or anything. They are called edge locations. They are not directly accessible, but CloudFront service will use. So how it operates is basically you can cache the static contents here, the videos and images, and when the client in India accesses it, it will be delivered from the nearest edge location. So that is how this operates. Okay. So from the scope of this course perspective, you should understand what are the what are the basics of CloudFront. Now, what I'm going to show you is I will upload one image in a S3 bucket, and which is a picture file, and then we will create a I will create a CloudFront distribution, and the distribution will have another DNS name. So when the distribution is complete, the same image is accessible from another DNS name. So in reality, how will you use it in production? Suppose there are images which are stored in the edge location. So when you actually write your HTML page, you will have to refer to this new DNS names so that the images will be or the videos will be downloaded from the edge location. So that is how this service will be used. Now there are so you can either create a distribution for images or static like HTML or some images, and there is another way that is called RTMP protocol. So if you are doing it for video files, you can use it that way. So first of all, what I'm going to for demo purpose, I have created one bucket in earlier exercises. So I'll be using that bucket, and I will be uploading some file there. So this is my bucket, and so in the cloud front terminology, this is called as the origin. And now let me upload a file here. Meter.jpg. Yeah, please go on mute. Okay, so this is that this is a small picture file. Let me make it public. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a CloudFront distribution so that this image will be cached into a page location. So let me try and do that. Okay, so I will just create a distribution. So here you will see this is for the graphics, CSS, all these files it is supported, and there is a protocol called RTMP. Now they are discontinuing this support from 31st December. So I don't know what new will come here. So for our case, we'll just be caching the file. So let me just select that particular bucket. Srikanth Fidelity is the name. So there are a lot of settings. We will not be going into those details in this course, but I'm just going to create this distribution. Okay, so this is in progress. That will take some 10 minutes time to actually distribute, to pull the images and cache it. So once it is available, what we will see is, so here if you see, there will be yeah, this is the domain name that is given here. Now once the image is pulled in this location, if I put this domain name /nature.jpg, it will be visible from this edge location. So my origin is basically the S3 bucket, and from that I am pulling the static files. Okay, so it is going to take some time. If I now do and try to browse it, let's see what happens. It is not ready, so it will give me an error, not found or something. Okay, so it is cached. Now if you see, I can paste it in the chat window. Okay, so this is coming from the nearest location to you. It is not going to, my S3 bucket is in North Virginia region, but this is getting delivered from the nearest edge location. So that way you can use, this is basically to reduce the latency part. Okay. So it is called content delivery network. So this will become quite fast. Otherwise, it actually takes some time, a couple of minutes to distribute. Okay. Now there are certain other caching services in terms of the database. So if you go here, we'll just quickly touch upon those because to set this up, you would require really the product knowledge. So that is not what we are going to do here. So there is something called as a elastic cache. So elastic cache is a service which will basically leave the caching services of Redis Cache and Memcached. So Redis Cache and Memcached are two open source tools which are used for in-memory caching. Okay. So what AWS does is they have leveraged that, and when you set up a Memcached or a Redis Cache cluster, it will set it up on EC2. And how it operates is, I will just explain that. So in a database, what happens is there are many repetitive queries. So when you hit the database for repetitive queries, the database gets overloaded. So now I'm sending some queries to this database which are repetitive kind. Then every time the database is going to hit with the same query. So instead of that, you put a cache in between. So this is your elastic cache. And so this is your client. And when it sends a query, first time when it sends a query, it will be getting the result from the database. Now what happens is on its way, it will store that.
Please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.